can we give ourselves permission to let go and play? It's just play. I just happen to be using glue and paper and crayons.
You're watching the Wow podcast. I'm Jennifer Robin. This conversation is for informational purposes only and is not medical advice. Full disclosure is in the description. Today on the show, we have Devorah Brinkerhoff. She's a professional artist and transformational guide who has developed a unique healing methodology called Soul Portraits. It's an innovative approach that combines artistic expression, and its purpose is to help people transform trauma into empowerment. Welcome, Deborah.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, Ben. I'm glad to be here.
So let's talk about your transition from being a gallery artist to what you're doing now as a healer. What did that look like?
Well, it's funny because I don't think of myself as a healer. But I certainly appreciate the possibility of helping others move through their own stuff. So I would say that I had always used art and creativity as a way to move through my own unvoiced confusion. I don't think as a kid I would have even called it pain. I just thought it was normal. Looking back, it was there for me as a friend and a crutch and a way to understand the world around me. And I was lucky in the sense that I was considered skilled. So my grandmother had gone to Pratt, which is an art school in New York. Which is funny because I never knew what art school was. I just knew that she was a painter. And it never occurred to me to go to art school until I was junior in high school and spent a summer at Wesleyan and found out that art school existed. And the end all be all was to be in galleries. And I was for a very long time, and they're helpful, and that's great. And I wanted something more. It just never felt like it was enough. And I really recognized that when I opened my studio and people would come in, we ended up having great conversations about what the artwork brought up in them, how it connected to something deeply within themselves. And that felt much more meaningful and purposeful for me. And it wasn't even a conscious decision to leave the galleries. I was just like, I don't think this is working for me anymore. And so I let them all know. And that didn't make them very happy. It was never anything personal. I just really wanted to do more work directly with people on a much more intimate level.
And so what does that look like today? Talk to us about the soul portraits. And I mean, I've seen pictures of some of your work. I know this isn't going to translate on podcast, but friends, you'll have to just trust me. You have to go to the links we're going to put in the show notes and see some of this work. But describe to our listeners, to our friends, what these soul portraits look like and what they are.
So it's a creative process that I sort of stumbled into. So like I said, creativity was always there as a crutch for me. But when my life got very complicated and everything sort of blew up and I was surrounded by all of this material from lived experience. So letters, journals, photographs, cookbooks. In my stack of material, there were also legal papers, and a class action suit that my parents and my husband's parents brought against us. And I just didn't know what to do with all of this. That box of stuff was so heavy and upsetting. And I just didn't know how to open it. I didn't know how to revisit it. I didn't want to revisit it. It's that kind of stuff that we like put in a box, we close it up and put it in the closet. But we also feel bad about throwing it away for some odd reason. And I think for me, it was like, oh, if I throw it away, I'm not actually dealing with it. And then so I'm waiting to deal with it. And for whatever reason, I opened up that box. And while I knew what I was holding and feeling that in my body, I wasn't going down like a cognitive memory lane. It was more of a physical experience. And I just started ripping things up very naturally. I was gluing them down and writing over it. And hours later, I was like, oh my gosh, I stood back and I recognized that I had sort of disassembled my story and I had made it more digestible and then reassembled it on the canvas. And then I painted over it. And I felt so different. I just moved all this stuck toxic energy. And it wasn't all bad, right? Like life isn't all bad. It's a mix. And it just changed everything. And I was so lucky to recognize that it really shifted the way that I felt about myself. So the relationship that I had upon receiving those documents was one of self-loathing. Like I felt so trapped in shame and guilt and confusion and heartbreak that I had assumed that I was bad. I thought it was evident of my own wrongdoing. And certainly that was the perspective, right, that I was receiving. Like absolutely that was the message. But I could change my relationship to it. And that was a superpower. And it was just me. Like it was just me alone in my studio. No one else had to see it. And so I recognized that anybody could do this. So I worked with myself for a long time. And then I started doing portraits for other people in the family. And then I started doing them for friends. And then I was like, wow, this is really powerful for people. I had a friend who had gone through a really nasty divorce and she just had reams and reams of paperwork about custody and money and just all this stuff. And so it was how we moved through it together. So now I teach it to other people and essentially it's mixed media and you let your materials tell your story for you so that you're not trying to articulate it. You're not trying to get it right. Like you don't have to think about it. It's a process that really bypasses your thinking mind and goes to your body where somatic energy gets stuck and you can move it. It's really powerful.
And is that what you think you're tapping into is the somatics of it?
Well, I think that all of our lived experiences are recorded in our body.
Yeah, I do too.
And we don't stop to take time to really integrate what we lived through. And we just keep moving forward. And even with therapy, because I spent many years in therapy, it's still cognitive and you can talk about it, but talking about it doesn't change how your body feels about it.
Right.
And so, yes, it reaches the somatic places and it addresses those lived experience at the somatic level. But I think when people tap into creativity, they're tapping into something much larger than any of us. And really, I don't think of myself as a spiritual person, but I have come to believe that when we tap into ourselves, we're tapping into our divinity. It's very powerful and it suspends the rest of the systems of our world. So however you lose yourself, whether it's cooking or gardening or music or dance, that's all creativity. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as we're doing that, we're tapping in and connecting to our greater wisdom.
That's an interesting way to think about that. Obviously, I know music and art and that, but with you adding the word cooking, I was like, oh, I never even thought about that.
Yeah,
but you're right.
Sure.
It's tapping into that same creative spirit.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So when people are creating these works with you, so for example, somebody who, like you said, is dealing with divorce papers or something, by the time they are done with working through their piece, if you're looking at it, it's hanging on the wall. And I'm guessing they feel better about it. But I'm curious, are the words like illegible at this point from the ripping, or are there still tidbits that you can read? That's really what my brain is thinking.
Sure. That's a great question. It changes, right? And it's what I love about it is that it's 100% unique to the person. So
Hmm.
there are two different ways of doing this.
Okay.
One is I guide people in a workshop scenario where they're working through it themselves. And the other is that they've commissioned me to create a piece for them. They're both personal agency because when you enter into this process, you are agreeing to lean in towards yourself and whatever it is that you feel is holding you back. And we're all meant to live a full, free, creative, wonderful life. And if there's something that keeps niggling at us, that keeps showing up, a pattern that we can't seem to overcome, it's because it lives in our body. It's not a mind thing. It's a somatic thing. It's a experience that we haven't integrated yet. And it's
Hmm.
very tricky because, especially in the spiritual community or in the self-help community, there's this idea that there's a problem and we have to go digging for it. And you can spend your life in that loop, just digging and digging and digging. And you can always find a problem. And really, this process isn't about that. It's about being with yourself in the moment. So, whatever that is, and if there are divorce papers that are hard to look at and it's tender, it's a process that you're with the materials, but really the materials are just a symbol. You're with the experience that you've had in the past. And so you're laying them down as the foundation for who you have become, having lived through all of those things.
Okay.
So we honor the past, and then we spend some time recognizing how you've been shaped by your past experiences by writing down free writing over the top of those materials to anchor in who you are today. And then the painting over it is, what would you like to call in for your future self? Who do you know yourself to be? How would you like to step into your highest power, another version of yourself that's already here? It's not gone. It's always been within you. But the experiences confuse us. They take us away from who we really are. So this is a process. That's why I call them soul portraits. It's getting to know who you are underneath all the experiences that you had, so that you can change your perspective, your relationship to them, and be more of who you truly are. So it's a past, present, future process. And to answer your question about whether or not people can see it, it's entirely up to them. So if there's something that you're just like, I am done with this, and I feel it in my body and I am ready to go, the reason why painting over it and completely, like totally painted over, where you can't see anything, it's not about denying or ignoring or pretending that the past didn't happen. It's saying, I've been with it. I've now like really acknowledged and integrated and accepted this part of myself with love and compassion. So I am ready to release it. It can go. And you'll feel it. Like it's a process where you feel it in your body that you've really attended to whatever experience it is that's holding you back. And so some people leave it very transparent. You can go up and read whatever you want.
See, I feel like that would freak me out. That's why I asked. I was curious if, if you're just walking by and your eyeball catches a word.
Right. And it can, but it's a word just for you, right? No one else has to know. And people, like over and over again, I have some that are pretty raw. So people look at those raw ones that's theirs and it makes them uncomfortable, but nobody else knows because you're the only one who knows what your experience is like.
I see. Yeah.
And so if it makes you uncomfortable to be reminded of your own history, then there's energy there that wants you to be with it. It wants you to hold it in compassion. And then it's up to you to cover it completely over and to alter it. But if it's coming from a place of discomfort, then I would say that it's not quite held enough yet. It's not fully integrated yet. There's a real shift inside of your own being that can feel the release happen, because people who are trying to be with some really difficult things, so whether that's the suicide of their child, or if they're a war veteran, or sexual abuse history, like the big complex trauma, where they don't believe in their head that they can hold their own story. And so those people tend to commission me to do it for them. So kind of like a healing by proxy situation where
Yeah.
I can show up and hold their materials with so much compassion, regardless of what they feel they have done. There is nothing that I have come across in someone's story that I have judgment around. And there have been some horrific harm related to their own in their lived experience that they feel that they've caused and have caused. So I've also worked with perpetrators, and their willingness to take accountability and to even lean into the harm that they've caused is such not only a tremendously courageous thing to do, it is the first step to learning how to love and forgive themselves. And that is how we create change in the world. And it doesn't start with judgment or condemnation. It starts with really accepting and loving people and knowing that for the most part, the majority of harm we cause is because we have been harmed originally and we have not known how to process that harm. And we've all received harm and we have all caused harm, some more than others. And that has nothing to do with like good or bad. It has to do with how we know how to take care of ourselves. It's how much love and support have we received when we really needed it or not. So I have an enormous amount of compassion for people who step into this work. It is deep, deep work.
Yeah.
And it surprises me. So the people who have really hard things, and if we just go back to the divorce example, there was one woman who was dealing with her divorce, and she was looking back over her history and her young self. And she just said it so beautifully. She's like, I'm so surprised to recognize how much I wanted to love and how maybe naive that love was, but the naivety in and of itself, like the intention of it, is such a beautiful thing. And so she would remember it with judgment and criticism and the negativity around naivete. But in revisiting those materials from her earlier self, she was just hit with such awe for the sweetness of how she approached her marriage. And it just shifted her relationship to how she had been judging herself to really accepting herself and accepting her story and becoming really excited for her next chapter and of life and who she is and how to come from this place of excitement rather than smallness, which she had been playing for a lot of years.
Yeah.
So it's neat.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really neat.
What does the timeline look like for someone moving through this process?
It really is different for everyone. There are people who come in and within 3 hours, they've processed decades.
Wow.
I know, it's insane.
That is, yeah.
So workshops are typically 3 hours. There is some prep time because people have to gather their materials and supplies. They can get them from me if they want the supply part, but it's your materials, it's your story, it's your life. So that's why it's different and why it's powerful is because you can't make it up. It is what it is. Like the journal you wrote in the journal, or your mother wrote in the journal, or it was your father's cookbook or favorite bread recipe or whatever it is. Like they're tangible materials that hold the energy of the time that they were written and received or read or whatever. So people spend some time collecting that. But if people know exactly what it is and exactly where it is, they spend 10 minutes gathering boxes of stuff and 3 hours ripping it up, gluing it down, writing and painting. And a lot of people like hang it on their wall, but plenty of people rip it up and burn it and have a ceremony that way. So you can do whatever feels right to you and you'll know.
Do you ever dream of being a better mom, friend, or person? You're not alone. Life happens, and even your best intentions can fall off track. That's why I created Balanced Life Warrior, a no-fluff, practical course that helps you actually make progress toward the goals you have for your life. There's nothing overwhelming here, just tools that actually fit into your busy day. You belong here. Head to whiterobinwellness.com to get started today. That's whiterobinwellness.com. So it sounds like it's definitely more about, for the people that are doing it themselves in your workshops, it's the healing is coming through the process, and
It's
it has
always the
nothing to do with
process.
the end, whatever
Absolutely
they're
not.
going to create.
Very true.
Okay.
It's about the
Interesting.
process, not the product, which is looking back at my career as an
Yeah.
artist, it was always about the process, not the product. If the product ended up being pleasing to other people and sold well, that was great. But then the gallery would be like, well, do more of those. And I'm like, I can't. No, like this is a
Yeah.
process. And
Yeah.
now it's done. So people end up loving what they make, because think back when you were in kindergarten, like you weren't judging what you made. You just loved it
Yeah.
because you made it. And this is a very similar thing. So even if like it's so fun to cook and to bake and to garden, and we don't judge the plant if it came out wonky. We're
Right.
just like, wow,
Right.
you came out. You're amazing.
Yeah. And remind me where you're located.
I'm in Portland, Oregon.
And you're doing these, when you do group events, you're doing them in person?
It depends. I can do them virtually. So if people are all over the world, we can gather virtually, and there are pluses and minuses. So in an in-person event, people tend to like the group dynamic of sharing.
Yeah.
And they like to have physical access to me and to tell me parts of their story that surprised them, that came up during the process. That can happen in a virtual landscape as well, but because like I haven't figured out how to do like pop-out rooms if people want to have a private conversation.
Yeah.
The bonus to a virtual event is that everybody is working in a private space, so their neighbor can't see their work. And so if you're dealing with things that hold a lot of shame or guilt or feel very unspeakable, people really like the virtual event.
Yeah. Gives them some protection and privacy. Yeah. I could see that.
Really, it tends to be grief and loss, but there are the handful of people I come in contact with who want to celebrate 50 years of marriage and want to create this together with their partner. And it's lovely. It can be a celebration for a very special event.
You and I had a conversation before we got on air that I have an entire cabinet behind me right now with my mother passed away earlier this year. And it's like all her written journals and a bunch of art sketches and just tons of stuff that I'm still going through, piles and piles of it. But it's not traumatic in a sense for me.
Right.
I don't even know what that is qualified as.
It's just
stuff right now.
It's just stuff. It's your relationship with her, right? It's intimate. It's intimacy. And it's a way to celebrate your relationship with her or honor it. And, and to get to know her better now, because you have access to all of that stuff, or to learn about another side of her. That stuff has always fascinated me. Like I would just spend hours in a thrift store going through other people's mail that's just left from the 1940s. And I'm like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. So I just love the energy of everyone has a story. I think people are remarkable.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad is into that as well. Not so much the thrift stores, but at yard sales, if he finds a box of postcards, he will literally track down the descendants of the people and like try to mail it to them because he's so fascinated by the stories.
I love that.
So it's interesting to hear that this could be used in positive ways as well, dealing with positive emotions, not just the ones that we find unpleasant.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. It can be a celebration of life.
And probably our friends are also thinking this. How? Just how? And my brain is stuck on the how of I'm doing this project with you for 3 hours, and where are those feeling, like how the emotions arise, I guess is what I'm thinking that my friends listening might be thinking. Like, that doesn't make sense. How does it work? Where do those feelings come from?
Well,
Like the memories that you forgot.
they're
Like,
just in you. They're just in you. And so really it's a willingness to let them move through you. So if you allowed yourself to revisit a time in your life, for better or for worse, it just shows up. But we spend so much time like tamping it down and saying, I can't feel this now, or I'm not in the right place, or this emotion might be inappropriate. And there isn't an inappropriate emotion. It's our willingness to let them move through us, to be acknowledged. And it just happens. If you're not ready for it, it won't resonate with you. You'll just be like, not for me. That is your intuition letting you know that this isn't for you. If you feel like, oh, this could help me so much, then it's for you.
so people kind of have a sense of when they're ready for this.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Like if you're drawn to it, lean into it. You're ready. You don't have to work with me. You don't have to have me. It's just a way for you to really have yourself, because that is the most important relationship any of us can have. So if we're struggling in other relationships, we have to start here and on the inside with ourselves first. And when I was in college, I made this incredible lampshade. So I went to a garage sale and I picked up this old lampshade with silk fabric. It was beautiful. I ripped off all the silk, so it was just the frame. And I went to the clipping file and I took out photographs, and they happened to be of a famous murder, I think, of a naked woman discarded in like field somewhere. And the way that I saw her body, it reminded me of paper dolls, and in a positive way, right? So my mind wasn't ready to deal with what my system knew was inside. Art had always been nudging me towards myself, and I wasn't ready to deal with it, but it was always there. So it's in us. And if we're not ready for it, we won't do it. We won't lean in. It won't show up for you if you're not ready. So you don't have to be scared of what shows up, because if you're not ready, it will not show up. Or if it shows up, you'll think it's like joyful instead of sad or creepy or scary. Like we just won't. We have our own denial system, or just
well, it's like a self-protection, right? There's parts of us that are protecting us by stuffing some of these emotions down and storing them in the body.
Yeah, until we're ready.
Yeah.
People know. So it's very empowering, and it's about following your own voice, your own intuition, yourself.
So what about people who feel hesitant to do something like this because they don't feel creative?
Oh, that's such a good question. I love that question, because we are creative. And again, I always go back to the 5-year-old who just loved to color. And whenever you started using crayons, like nobody cared that it went out of the line. And I'm like, that's creativity. Just, it does not matter. Everybody has the ability to do this. Can we give ourselves permission to let go and play? It's just play. I just happen to be using glue and paper and crayons. People use crayons all the time in the workshops. They use Sharpies, they use whatever they have. It's about getting messy, because there's so much freedom in that. There's so much joy. I mean, when I was young and living in your neck of the woods, I made mud pies all the time. I loved playing in the mud. Like,
oh my gosh, I remember doing that.
Right?
I wonder if that's a New England thing.
Maybe. I love mud season. There's a whole season dedicated to New England that doesn't exist anywhere else that I'm aware of. So yeah, like I remember just playing outside. It's just playing. It just happens to be with paper and glue and some paint. It's all the same. So it's giving ourselves permission to let go, which I think these days we need more and more and more of.
Yes, I agree. What's the most surprising reaction you've witnessed from someone going through this process?
That's really hard, because I wasn't surprised, because I had gone through this process myself. And so those deep emotions that I had tried to keep tamped down and locked away for so long, they just came out. And so there's just nothing at this point that surprises me. It is such a privilege to witness people. We share common feelings of unworthiness and a lack of value and a questioning what is unconditional love and what is forgiveness. And it all starts inside. So we all struggle with the same things. We receive those understandings and questions through different experiences, but they tend to land in very similar places. And we feel it as grief, loss, anger,
Mm,
confusion, depression, anxiety, like all of that is just stuck emotion. It's just stuck energy. And I
yeah.
think that working at an energetic level is where it's at.
What about people who are feeling something like you're saying, the not enoughness or some of these universal themes, but they don't even know? Like they don't have the documentation. They don't really know where it came from. Would this type of process, is there a way that it would work or be helpful for them?
There was one gentleman that I was working with. He hadn't kept a single letter from
Mm,
his first wife or his mother, but he had memories. And so I really just listened for a while as he spoke about what those relationships meant to him. And I mean, this is such a tremendous human being and had done so many incredible things. But the women in his life were both powerful, more powerful than he was, especially as a child, and very cruel. And so if you are overpowered by another and you're dealing with a sense of smallness and unworthiness, to reclaim it is to really be with those feelings. And so there was a lot of writing that he did on his own that he then gave
okay.
to me to put into his piece.
Ah, I see.
And
Okay.
and so he did a lot of writing, and people can do that in free writing in their own. So if people show up and they don't have any materials, I ask them, or prior to the workshop, they're like, I don't have anything. Then the suggestion is what materials would represent the memories that you have. So there was one person she and her brother were in foster care, and you can just imagine all of the stuff that went along with
Yeah.
that, but she didn't have any documentation. So I asked her to look up documentation that reflected her lived experience. And her brother had committed suicide. And so,
Oh.
like, what was it like? Can you make a copy of his death certificate? Can you take a photograph of where he is at rest? Do you have an urn? Do you have a gravestone? Do you have, and if not, like, can you find material in the world on the internet today that resonates with you, that captures your relationship with him, your relationship with your foster parents or caregivers, or all the paperwork that went along with your case number? It was sort of like a reverse engineering of what her lived experience looked like. Because again, you have all the information in your own body. Your body is a record of your entire life. And every single moment of your life is recorded in your body. So it's all there. We just tend to ignore it until it captures us in the form of cancer, back pain, I don't know, you name it, whatever it is,
Exactly.
however it
Exactly.
shows up for you is how it's trying to get your attention. And so how can we say, hey, body, where's this coming from? If people just don't even know why they have anxiety.
That's what I'm thinking, like a general, just someone has this whatever that they're struggling with. I was going to say a shadow that they're struggling with, but they don't know where it came from. So
Right.
it's not like they can tie it to a set of paperwork or photos or a person. It more people that maybe are earlier in the process and haven't tied it to experiences yet,
Yeah.
you know?
You don't have to have the answer. Like, again, it's a very mind thing to say, well, where does this come from? And I get
Yeah.
it. We
Yeah.
want to understand. And it's really learning how to trust the wisdom of your body. So when people really just don't know, but they're so anxious and depressed and lethargic and
Mm.
miserable, then it's like, okay, just start somewhere. Just start scribbling on a piece of paper. Start writing words down. I have a free exercise that I often ask people to do just as a warm up, a way to start, called an inner voice exercise. And you start making kind of a head shape and then free write over it and start circling words. And it's an intuitive process. So your body is guiding you. You're just following that intuition because your body always knows. And so whatever comes up, it's a starting place. So I can give an example if you want, if you think that's helpful.
Yeah.
It's soulportrait.art /innervoice. And that gets people to the free exercise that I'll describe to you. So you just draw an oval on a piece of paper. It doesn't matter. It can be a scrap from your recycling bin. In fact, I've had people do soul portraits simply from their recycling bin. It's just to get you going, just to get you knowing that you can do this. And you don't have to open Pandora's box. You can just start with where you want to start. So you draw that oval, and then you start writing whatever words come to mind. You just let your hand move, cover the whole page with words, or 3 words. Maybe there are just 3 words that show up over and over and over again. And then start circling those words. And there were certain words when I did this exercise that I just kept circling. So their circle was really dark. It was very prominent. Your eye kind of goes there straight away. And I was looking around, and I had all these different words. And one of them was like duty, the word duty or service. And then next to it was the word wings. But I kept circling the word like duty. And it was big and dark, and it literally covered over the word wings. It was just totally intuitive. And I was like, huh. And I looked down, I'm like, I'm literally clipping my wings with duty and obligation and feeling like I have to show up in a certain way. And I mean, I did this as an exercise and I learned something new about myself. I've been doing this my entire life and I'm midlife. So it's always showing us something and letting us know that we can pay attention to ourselves in a different way. Our barometer of how we're doing is right here. We have all of our own answers, but taking the time to figure out what we need. I just got so tired of listening to other people tell me what to do and how to do it. So that is the last thing that I want to do. I'm always encouraging people to become their own answer.
Yes.
That's why in the beginning of this conversation, I'm like, I'm not a healer. You're your own healer. I'm just here to hold space for you and to invite you into this container so that you can be with yourself because you're amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think my philosophy anyway, and I think resonates with most of our listeners in the show, is that a true healer is just someone who's facilitating others to heal themselves. So, I mean,
Yeah.
everything I've heard out of your mouth is is facilitating healing. So I know I don't like labels either, but yeah, wow. That's amazing.
It's a neat process. Yeah. It's creativity at its best. I'm always curious about who people are and how they move through the world and how they can enter and step into their greatest selves. So if people have questions, it's really more an invitation. Please reach out. I'd love to support people knowing themselves better and being more comfortable in their own lives. Well, I had suffered so long for so many years with my own relationship with myself, and it was such a prison. And if I can help anybody release themselves from their prison, that's my greatest joy.
Beautiful. Beautifully said. Thank you. Do you want to share your website again so that our friends can find you?
Soulportrait.art. And they can follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok of all places. I feel like I'm far too old to be on TikTok, but
that sounds a little like you're judging yourself there.
It's just such a loud platform, right? There's so much going on. And so it just didn't feel like it would resonate. And then it turned out that it did, which was a surprise.
Well, maybe it's the spaces and the things you're watching and what you're interacting with.
Yeah, it does. The algorithm got to know me.
There you go. Fabulous. Well, thank you so much for being here today. And friends, I will have all of the links in the show notes. I definitely recommend that you especially go to the website or go to Instagram and see some of the pictures to go along with this. And definitely get connected with Devorah.
Thanks, Jen.
Thanks for watching. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was. Just drop it in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for more.